Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. So in this class, I'll be showing you how to make this yoke bustier with Flounce. So we are going to draft this on our paper. So this is the shoulder line for this yoke dress. This is the chest, bust point, under bust point, and the waistline. So I have my basic bodice front bodies right here. So I'm connecting my natural neckline of 3x3 to complete the dress, the bustier drafting. So the next thing I want to do now is to start creating this yoke. So it's actually a shoulder yoke neckline. So I'll just get my midpoint and connect to the bust point. So once I've connected to the bust point, next I would have my bust point difference, which is 3.5. I'll take it all around to form my bust radius. So for this neckline, I'm going to come up from the chest line. I'll come up by 1.5 inch. It depends on if you want the bust to be exposed, but if you don't want it to be exposed, you can go up by 2 inches. So I go up by 2 inches and I place my pattern ruler from here to the mid armhole. Can you see? So I place it to the mid armhole. So we are going to contour this over bust, and note we are going to replace this. By the time we are done taking 1.5, I will add that 1.5 here. That will be for the over bust replacement. So I'll measure the 1.5, which I'm going to use to replace my neckline. So now let me quickly contour the over bust. So I'll just place my tape at the midline, go in by 0.75 and come out by 0.75, and this is it. I'll go this way and I'll go that way. So I've contoured this part. So now I want to create the neckline for this particular dress, which is going to serve as the yoke. But before we do that, the 1.5 here, which I have as my over bust, I'm going to replace it. So once I replace it, I'll simply place my pattern ruler from that point. I can use the inner part of my ruler to reconnect it. Okay, so that is the reconnection of the armhole line. So now the yoke neckline, I'm going to connect the yoke neckline where our flounce is going to rest. So I can come in from here. I can make use of this. It depends on where you want it to be. So from here, from the neckline, I'll step down. This is by choice. What I'm doing here is by choice. So but let me just step down by 2 inches because this is a nude net. Okay, the yoke is sewn with a nude mesh, so if you don't look very well, you might be unable to see it. So I just make dotted lines to meet with this what I have right here. Okay, because I'll use the width of this as the shoulder yoke neckline. So I'll do this. I'll just use this to connect my neckline. So here becomes the yoke. Can you see? So the neckline goes in this way from here. So if you want to bring it closer, you can still bring it a little closer. That's if you don't want it to be so big like this. You can, from the mid armhole, you can come in by maybe 1/4 inch. Let me do 1/4 inch. So if you have it 1/4 inch there, it means you now connect your neckline from 1/4 inch. So I think I prefer from this line going in 1/4 inch because this is a yoke. so it doesn't sag too much. So here is my yoke, and that is what I'm going to cut out as the yoke of this dress. So it depends on how exposed you want the bust, but I wouldn't like to expose the bust. So if you look at my bust area, you can see my bust radius. This is where I'll be having my bust, just very close to the bustier itself. So we are done with the upper part. I'll come over to the lower piece for the under bust contour line. So from the center front, my under bust divided by 4 is 8¾ So what I have here is 1.25. I'm going to impute 0.25 and I'll impute 1 inch. So we have a detailed video on how to contour the under bust appropriately, so you can just go there on tightening under bust to watch how you can contour the under bust. So I'll now go ahead and connect this way, as you can see. So I'm done connecting this part. So coming over to the back will also have a yoke, but I'm not using any dart for it. So the first thing I'll do is to contour my back by 0.75. Then I'll connect this to the shoulder this way, as you can see. Then I'll measure my actual waist, divide by 4. I'll mark. From the contour line, I'll measure my actual bust, divide by 4. I'll mark. Then I'm going to reconnect. So now the yoke for the back, this is where we are still going to connect it like we had it in the other one. So you can do whatever you want to do for the back. So for the back, I would want my neckline to come up by 1.5 at the back. So if it comes up by 1.5, I'll go ahead and connect. So this is what my back bodies will look like. Then neckline, note that we have the neckline from this, so I simply go ahead and measure what I have from here to here, 3 inches. I'll come from here to here, 3 inches, and I'll connect. So I can go ahead and connect it to 1 inch of my back neckline. So you do whatever you want for the back. So I'll just connect it. I'll just connect it this way. So once I've connected, you can just make a little keyhole. Okay, so this is 0.5 inch where we will be having the button loop. So I like to connect my yoke this way whenever I'm making yoke necklines like this. So this is the actual back now. So I just use the inner part of my ruler and connect. So this becomes the back yoke for this dress, and this becomes the body's back. So we are done, and I'm going to cut out what I have on. So what I'm doing now is the cutting. So when I'm cutting now, I'll now go ahead and cut from the armhole to this point. Then I'll cut from the shoulder line. So I want to separate the yoke. That's what I'm doing. So this is the neckline, which we are working with now. Then this is the yoke. So I'll cut it off from here to this point. So this is what the yoke looks like. So I'll go ahead and do this. So I take off the dart and then close up my bust. That. So So I've closed out the border, and this is what we have. So like I always advise when making things like this, match the chest line and the chest line together. If you look, you can see we have a shortage. So this shortage, I always like to replace it before I cut. So if you have been following us on this channel, you know I always do this. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll bring in this and bring this together. So, and I make sure I match it chest line to chest line. So once I've matched it on the chest line this way, I'll now come back with my pattern ruler this way. So I'll now come in this way with the pattern ruler and do what? Reconnect. So by the time you have reconnected, this one goes to this point. So if I'm cutting it now, I'll go ahead and do this. Can you see? I'll go ahead and do this, and then for this I'll still cut this part. Alright, so that is what your pattern will look like before you join. So can you see? So now your yoke comes in for you right here. So you can see everything matches up. By the time you match, you can see both the yoke and the replacement is matching accurately. So that is how you go about the bustier parts for the front. So now I'll keep the front aside and cut what I have on the back. So cutting what I have on the back, I'll just go ahead and do this and do that. I'll go to the contour line, follow my keyhole this way. So that is how the back is going to look like. Can you see? So now I'm going to separate the yoke for the back. So that is how the back looks like. So the next thing we want to do now, because we are done with this class, but I need to show you how to sew the flounce, how to cut the flounce. So this flounce you are seeing right there on the thumbnail, I'm going to take the measurements of what I have. It's going to be sewn on the, after you have sewn your bustier, sewn your yoke, join them together. You sew it at about 0.3 inside, inward on top of the yoke to the bustier to the waistline, as you can see. So simply we are talking about your front length measurement. So I'm taking my front length measurement, which is 17 for the both, because it will run from back to front. It depends if you want it to run from shoulder to front, but it's better it runs from back to front. Okay, so to cut that now, to cut the flounce, I'll simply come in with my fabric. If this is my fabric, I'll fold my fabric by 2. I'm going to cut full circles, about 3-4 full circles, and I'm going to join them together. So that is how to cut that flounce. So you can see what I made here. That is my 360 degrees. So this 360 degrees flay, the width is going to be 5 inches and the radius is going to be 2 inches. So in other words, I'm marking 7 inches from this point to this point. So there's no calculation of radius for this. Just use 2 inches radius. You'll be able to get that flounce effectively. So you can see that. So that is the length. Then I'll take off the 2 inches radius. So I'm going to make as many circles as possible, as you can see, using this pattern. So I'm cutting it on paper, but this is what you do on fabric too. So if you are working with fabric, this is what you do. So you see my full circle, that's one of the flounce. I'll simply cut that one flounce. But before I cut that, I'm going to use this to replicate. I'm going to cut as much as possible. So I just put this together. So by the time I put one of these together here, I'll be able to have about, okay, the paper is not enough. So I'll just go ahead and cut as much. I've made about 4 circles for this plant. So what I will just do is to put them together and cut. So when I put it together now, I'll do this. Then I'll start joining them together to form my flounce. Okay, so if I'm joining them on the machine, so I just go ahead and join them on my machine. I've joined the 4 of them. So this 4 2 inches flounce, by the time you turn it with crinoline and your lining, can you see it's giving us exactly what we have right there on the thumbnail. So you must have finished your bustier, sewing it together with your yoke. Then you just go ahead and start sewing it from the hem. Can you see? So this is pepper. So if I'm working on fabric, you will see that fall, that flounce fall. So you keep sewing it that way. So we have 2 layers of it. So that means you cut another of this to make it 2 layers. Okay, so this really runs to the back. So that is how to go about it. Okay, so just give it a try and let us know how it went on the thumbnail, on this comment section. Thank you very much for coming to this class. And if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, drop a comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you once again and see you in the next class. Bye.